All right, guys. Hey, thanks for joining me today. So the things we have to persevere through, keep moving forward, keep trying, no matter how difficult it gets. We just gotta figure our way out sometimes. And so let's start on the cattle side of the farm, and also becomes a quick update. So remember we had that cow with the woody tongue, and then Henry's mom rejected him, but she rejected him in violence. She would freight train, she would make a point to charge across the pen and just freight train him down. So we locked him in the tub until it was time for feeding, and then we run him through and then bring mom through, let him nurse. And then as soon as we could get to the next auction, a couple days later was an auction. So Wood Tongue and Henry's mom went to auction because we could not get butcher dates. So now a few weeks ago, Dan's mom came in, and that was one of them evenings where at like 5 o'clock in the evening, Karen's like, wow, she pushed out her mucus plug. And you're like, oh, okay, gonna be a late night tonight. And so we actually went home, showered up, got clean, dirty clothes, and just grabbed a pizza from the local pub. And we just had supper in the farmhouse, and then slept up in the shop again. And then every couple hours, the wife would come out. So she'd come out at 10 o'clock. 9 o'clock, she's still in labor. 10 o'clock, she's still in labor. 11 o'clock, she's still in labor. 12 o'clock, no labor. And Karen's like, well, that's kind of weird. I'm like, well, maybe we were just a little early, and whatever. And she doesn't look any distress or anything like that. And so at 2 o'clock, Karen comes back up to the bedroom of the shop there, the bed in the shop, and she's like, I think she had the calf. And it's like, okay, we'll go check it out. And so, yeah, we come out, look at her rear end. Yep, absolutely, she had the calf. And little Dan was laying out here. We literally just started walking back and forth in the pasture with flashlights. Found little Dan over here, carried him into here, and then we got a bunch of spools of hot wire or poly wire. So we open up them two panels, and we turn them two panels. So this whole line, you got 4 panels pointing towards that power pole. We tie the poly wire onto the end of the panel, go around the pole, and then Karen takes off towards the wagon with the poly wire because the mom was over here. So then we get the mom on this side, and she starts coming, and she hits this wire here and stops. So then Karen just quickly runs towards the chopper box and is reeling up the wire to get to the tub. And now the mom is trapped in a triangle of poly, and so she just walks in. It's the slickest, no stress, easy can be. Run mom in the chute. Every time we ran her through, she was getting more difficult. She was holding her milk up more, and she would literally hide from Dan. And so we're like, you know what? We've got a butcher date for her set in the middle of January, so you're out. You're out. We're not dealing with this kind of crap. And so luckily, they're both bull calves, and genes, the bad mom genes, end right there for them two. And let's walk out to the failed wheat field to talk about perseverance and moving forward with the row crop side of the farm. All right, so cash crop side, it's always too cold, too hot, too wet, too dry. We spend hundreds of dollars per acre on chemicals for the soybeans to end up with weedy fields. We pour in a bunch of fertilizer to end up with that fertilizer deficiency in your crop. I mean, it's just a crazy year, and it's always a struggle on the cash crop side of things. And so here we are in the failed soybean field. And so what you're seeing here is the barley and peas. So the crop adjuster, we called the crop adjuster out. And so what he does is he takes his tape measure and strings it out and plucks a bunch of plants and seeds them out, and then counts them seeds, and he does it in a bunch of spots around the field, and he puts it all into his computer, and it spits out 4 bushel to the acre. 4 bushel to the acre. I'm not even dinking around with the combine. Let's just burn it down, because at that time, behind the wheat, your thistles and ragweeds and lamb's quarters or foxtails starting to come up. So let's just burn it down, clean it up, and we had received a few rains at the time of this summer. So we got the wheat in perfect. Early May, we got in right away. Early May, population came out great. Early emergence looked just like this barley, like great. We got a great stand, good population. We got it fertilized, we got it sprayed. You couldn't have asked for a better start to the season. And then by June 10th, we had zero rain. And you're looking and you're like, okay, the wheat is just kind of not doing anything. In fact, it looked just like this. And it just was not doing anything, but it was still green. But the ground was so dry that you debate, do we terminate the wheat and come out with soybeans? But the problem is the topsoil is so dry that the soybeans are just going to sit in the soil, until the next rain comes. And then what? You know what I mean? When is that going to be? The 15-day forecast was still dry, and you're like, let's just let it ride. After the wheat crop died, at the end of July, we got a couple rains that actually, you could see the crop was going backwards by the day. We got some rains just in time, and now we're going to have a pretty okay corn and soybean crop. And so it's always a struggle, but God always provides for you in the end somehow. I don't know how he does it, but don't ever doubt he loves you. So now we put the wheat failed. We still have to generate money on this field. We paid for the field, we paid for the seed and the chemical and the fertilizer. We still need to generate some money out here. So the barley and the peas growing, and there's hairy vetch there, and then right here's a whole big thick spot of hairy vetch coming in this whole big patch. And there's a random other old cover crop seed that germinated. And so what we're going to do is in 30, 40 days, the two clover pastures are hanging in a lot better than I thought, which is great. So we actually quit feeding hay sometime in August because we got some rains and the clovers started to come back. So we just been bouncing the cows between them two pastures. And I think this week we'll open up the gate, so they'll have almost 60 acres to just go between the two pastures and do that. And so if we can just get 30 more days out there, this in 30 days ought to be a great grazing crop. And then we're going to just overwinter in the feedlot. So we'll have the shed for wind and water days. Otherwise, we're just going to unroll bales out in the field out here, and that will take care of hauling manure, and all their urine and everything can be captured in the soil. And then next year we'll put corn or beans out here, but they can overwinter, and by next spring when the pastures awaken and the cows can go back to pasture, with any luck, we've got 6, 7, 8 bales to the acre put onto this field. So this 160 acres up here, with the help of the cows, we'll never need to buy any P&K for this home piece here anyhow, because the cows are going to do it for us. And if we do put in a corn or bean crop, there's going to be very little nitrogen needed. So it's kind of exciting there that the plan is starting to work. But our Hail Mary pass, if I would have done nothing, that's kind of the thing. If I would have just sat on my hands and said, well, the wheat crop failed, we'll just take the insurance check and we'll try again next year, well, then that's all we would have got. But at the time we were bringing the seed out here, it was pretty dry. And we're like, what if we don't capture any rains? And we're like, well, then, worst case scenario, we still get nothing other than a little bit of an insurance check. But if something does happen, if you don't try, you'll never succeed at all. But if we try, there's a chance we can fail, but there's also a chance we can succeed. And so we just took the leap of faith, and son of a gun, it's going to work out. We're going to have some beautiful grazing credits here, and then we'll just monitor the forecast. And if it looks like, hey, a big snowstorm is coming at some point, and the weather behind that snowstorm says it's going to stay, then we'll just come roll this up quick and then unroll it back out here to feed on top of the snow. And so there you go. There's the perseverance of our row crop side of things. All right, now we got to deal with the neighborhood hotshot, big time operator, the guy in every one of your neighborhoods. There's always that one guy that's a legend in his own mind. Doesn't matter what he does, he thinks he's got to do it big time, thinking he's better than everybody else. And so Franz Rosenquist, I didn't see the thing directly. Quite a few people from the Atwater, Painesville area sent me a link to the video. So what this coward did was he went out and went out to his neighbors, so his neighbor is an organic farmer, and they tried relay rye and soybeans. And God forbid it was a severe drought year that even the irrigation couldn't keep up. Go figure, rye in a drought year dried up the soil. Like, who would have thought, way to go, Franz, professor of science. But he had the audacity or the lack of moral compass, or just, a jerk. There's many other things we could do, but we don't need to call names. So he had the audacity to go to the neighbor's field and make a video about how that field failed and then post it online and then talk about how great his field is on the other end. Of course it is. Of course it is. But he'll never go, a coward like that will never go to that farmer directly and be like, hey, you guys really messed up on that field. That's what your good friends are for, is to pull in your yard and be like, John, what the hell were you doing? Like, yeah, I know. But when we're early adopters, when we're trying something new, you do your research, you do your homework, and you're like, God, I think this can work. And sometimes it does, and sometimes it doesn't. And this time it didn't work out for that farmer. And so that's their problem to deal with. That's their worry to deal with. We don't need little weasels like Franz running around the neighborhood, posting videos about everybody else's failure. Because I'll tell you what, I guarantee there's some no-till, strip-till guys around Franz that raise a much better crop at a lot higher profitability. But Franz, you never see Franz out there like, look at this guy's field. Like, holy crap, that is fantastic. No. He's just a cowardly little weasel that has to try and make himself feel better. And, yeah, it's sad. It's really sad that farming we have to be. I mean, we all judge each other's fields. Like, let's be honest. When we're driving around the neighborhood, we're looking at everybody else's field, and you're thinking to yourself, like, God, that field looks really good. Or like, man, I don't know what they did there, but that one is not going to work out. And I'm pretty self-deprecating humor. And so whenever I go to anywhere, I'm like, yeah, well, don't look at my fields, I'm honest. Like, we've had some tough years trying to figure out this transition. We've had a few ugly fields. And I've never held back. I was the first one to post videos of my own stuff. Like, look at that piece of crap. But we don't need the neighbors judging us like that, especially on social media. I had, last year I had a bunch of videos calling out our local coward because he had a big opinion on my family and myself and our farm and the crops and how nutrient management worked. And probably, just like Franz, the greatest farmer in the neighborhood. And so I would ask Franz, if you're so great, if you're such a great big-time operator, hot shot of the neighborhood that you are, arrogant little prick is pretty much what you are, and this ain't behind your back, because if I ever meet you in person and hear, the arrogance coming out of your mouth, like, I'll tell you, like, God, you are that arrogant prick that posted that video. But if you sound like a really nice guy, I'll be like, maybe I jumped to a conclusion. Who knows? But it just, that kind of malarkey, I don't know. I'm just going to stop right there. You guys let me know what you think, and we'll go from there.